end of the screen. Now, yes, Maggie did have a little bit of a viral moment because, she was with a couple other YouTubers that took a shine to her. We're talking like Melanie King. We'll talk about her later. MTR, and that other one. So, but Maggie, has been out here killing it. She got a rocket ship strapped to her back. Her channel is growing. You guys, whoever is not, need to check it out. If you guys could do me a favor, because I'm having issues over here, drop her a link to her channel in the chat. Maggie, the substitute teacher, and thank you so much for the $20 super chat. I don't, I know it just sounds like, a little cliche, but it's humbling when someone, just supports you like that. That's just remarkable. All right. Not having the guy in the home, not having the father in the home can have a profound lack of low self-esteem and a sense of disconnection for the Black man. And more importantly, and I'm going to hit hard on this, the inability to lead a family. And then a lot of times when we talk about, you'll hear a lot on various platforms that have these conversations around there. They talk about, who taught you, what did your mama teach you? What did your daddy teach you? It's not like they literally sit down and put you through school, but it's more so of watching how they interact with each other, watching how they problem solve, and them giving you tips and pointers along the way and pushing you in the directions that you need to go. When you got 80% of single mothers raising up, 75% of single mothers raising 80% of the children, who's out here teaching these men about being men? I often talk about my grandfather, and I'll get into that real quick. Unfortunately, I did not meet my father until I was 30 years old. And subsequently, I didn't meet his father until I was 30 years old. And I tell the story all the time that I was at my grandfather's house, and we got into a disagreement about something. And this man, good God, he's an old school man. We're back there. I'm going in with my grandfather, and he just looks at me, and he just gets like quiet, and he got this look on his face, and then he looked me dead in my face. He says, "I can't talk to you. You act too much like a woman." I was 30 years old. I was crushed. It was a combination of the, what he said and the harshness in which he said it. But that began, I didn't know at the time, but that began my journey to try to understand why that man, looking at me as a 30-year-old man who had nothing to do with my upbringing. This was my thought process. You had nothing to do with my upbringing, and you can make a comment like that about me when I didn't know you or my father for 30 years. But I'm glad that I did not take an approach that would create more tension with my grandfather and my father based on that statement, because when he said that to me, I probably only had known them about 3 months. So I took heed in what he said, and I started thinking about it and started the journey. It was a small step that led me to kind of where I am today about that. And a lot of us are out here and we just don't know. And we are ineffective in leading families. And when I was married, I was ineffective as a headship. I was ineffective. When she misbehaved, when things went south, I did not know the right way to handle those situations. And I handled them all the wrong ways. And leading a family effectively does not mean that you need to lead the family perfectly, because there's no such thing as perfection. It's effectively. And a lot of Black men struggle with feelings of guilt and responsibility for their mother's struggles as a single parent as well. And some of those feelings can lead a lot of young men to harbor a lot of anxiety and can lead to inappropriate behaviors with the women that you're in relationships with. This stuff is deep, and I'm a firm believer. Women, ladies, look, as you know, as much as we have these scrummages over relationships and getting together and what we should or should not do, but if you find a guy that you think you can work with, make sure that man has got some therapy. Make sure you've gotten some too. You know, because this stuff, especially if he came out of a home where it was just him and his mother, there are things he's just not going to know and things that he's not going to understand. And there's going to be behaviors and he's going to handle things in a way that looks strange to you coming from him. And he can't help it. It's so the last thing I'm going to talk about is, you know, a lot of young Black men are pressured to fill the void left in the homes by the men who should have been their fathers. Many Black men feel a sense of responsibility to provide in the way that their father should have provided for the family. And one of the things that they feel pressure to do is to take care of their mothers. And if we failed that, that pressure can lead to feeling of inadequacy, insecurity, frustrations, bad behavior, poor decision making, taking unnecessary risks, or simply becoming impotent. And I'm not talking about from a sexual standpoint. I'm talking about from a development standpoint. Young Black men whose mothers pressure them into becoming responsible for the family may feel like they're constantly falling short to struggle. Take a look at a lot of these NBA and NFL players when they get their contracts. One of the first things they say, I'm going to buy my mama a house. I'm going to retire my mama. I got to take care of my mama. Now, listen, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with taking care of your parents. Your parents. Your mother should be taken care of by her husband. Her son is not her husband. That can cause issues in relationships with the woman that he's supposed to take care of. No woman should have to compete for being the chief woman in a man's life with that man's mother. That woman should have her own husband or her man, or however you want to couple up. That's what's supposed to happen. Well, we have a lot, and I hate to admit this. I was raised by my grandmother. I worry constantly about her well-being. And I take care of that. What if I was, had a woman in my house and we were financially strapped and I'm sitting there having a conversation with her about what I got to do at my grandmother's house and my own house is on fire? How you think that woman in my house is going to be looking at me? Your responsibility is over here, fella. And then the words out of my mouth is, but that's my mama. And she going to say, and this is how these arguments go left. She going to say, your mama should get her own man. And guess what you going to do? You going to flip all the way out because she talking about your mama that you got an inappropriate attachment to. I'm not saying that men should not love and care for their mothers. But the sad truth is they don't come before your wife. No one does, including your mama.